Stage presence is important, but I mean, what are you going to do to hold on loosely besides maybe do some synchronized kiss moves in the background or something? What's up, everyone? Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I'm back with another episode for Fix This Band. I've been really trying to build up a big 10th episode. I actually wanted to go on location and work with a band face-to-face and film it and do all this stuff. But the right situation hasn't come about yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that in the future. In the meantime, something weird happened yesterday, and I thought, okay, this has to be my next episode. It's kind of like it's meant to be, because I jumped online, and the first thing I got was a message from somebody asking me when my next episode was going to be. Then 5 minutes later, I happened to see a picture of 38 Special. And then a short time after that, I saw that somebody had posted a video of their band playing a cover of Hold On Loosely. So I just thought, man, this must be written in the stars, so let's do it. By the way, I got a hold of the guy in the band, and I asked him if it was cool if I did this video for them, and he said yes, go for it. And I got excited because my whole life I've loved 38 Special. When I was a kid, they used to always play Caught Up in You and Hold On Loosely, and sometimes I forget that they actually have a lot more hits than just those two songs. They have like Fantasy Girl, Back Where You Belong. The song Second Chance is actually them. If you listen to it, it actually sounds more like a Journey song or something. This heart needs a second chance. They have Rockin' Into the Night, If I'd Been the One. I don't know if I already said that, but a lot more hits than I ever thought. I was really excited that I got to use my double cutaway Les Paul because I looked up some early 38 Special footage and they were using this kind of guitar. So I thought, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to play the video and let's just see what happens. Let's go. Okay, somebody put a lot of work into this logo. You could tell there's that little compass inside the O. It's real eye-grabbing, and I feel like if they took this and made it into this huge backdrop for their stage, it would just be epic. They did go out of their way to put their logo on a kick drum head, and they have a t-shirt back there, so whoever's doing the merch, the graphics, all that stuff, they're doing a great job. So we all know how this song starts, right? Everybody knows that first riff. Let's see how it goes here. Now, even though this song is called Hold On Loosely, I would have to say that intro is played a little too loose to really capture the essence of what it's supposed to be. So he's playing it kind of like this. And that's passable, it's decent. But in order to really grab the essence of that riff, I feel like you really have to go overboard with your palm muting. Almost like just what I needed by the Cars. You know how it's it's almost too muted, you know? If you add that to this, it actually sounds a lot better. Doesn't it just have a better rhythm feel to it? Okay, now the band comes in, let's hear it. When the lead guitar started the song, he actually started at exactly the same tempo as the album. But here's the problem. When bands play this song at album speed, it almost feels like it drags live. If you go back and listen to early 38 Special live, they always speed the song up, and it gives it that energy that you kind of want in a live situation. So I'm going to talk about a few details that the drummer missed. When he comes in, he's actually supposed to go to the ride cymbal. When you listen to the recording, it's actually pretty obvious. But this drummer goes right into the hi-hat, and he goes pretty heavy on it, almost like Lars Ulrich would. So that kind of takes away from the sound that it's supposed to have. He's also doing a more basic kick drum pattern than the actual recording. If you listen to the recording, there's a lot more going on. What I did was I recreated it today on the drum kit so you could hear it clearly on its own. So check out how it's supposed to be. One thing that could really spice up their stage presence and the sound is if the bass player hit those notes and really made a big deal out of it, like this. By the way, they're tuned down half a step. I think that's so it's not as high to sing. I'm not really sure, but that's a smart move because 38 Special can get up there. But I'm going to be in standard. If you look over at Jeff, so that's the guy I've been communicating with, he's the singer, he's the guy behind the keyboard there playing rhythm guitar. He's doing the hits and he's putting some energy into it, which is great. But like a lot of guitar tones that I see in these videos, it's too overdriven. So you can hear it here, but later on in the song, you're going to hear that it becomes almost transparent. And it's a real shame because 38 Special has 3 guitar players and these guys have 2 and one of them's disappearing already, so that's not good. Speaking of tone, though, I forgot to mention that the lead guitar player's sound is awesome. He's using a pedal board. You're going to see that later when the camera angle switches. And I think I see a Hughes and Kettner back there through a speaker being mic'd up. So he's doing the old school thing like I like. All right, let's go to the verse and see how these vocals are. Jeff is a great singer. I like how he rocks it up a little bit. He adds a little Jack Black to some of the parts, and I really like the edginess he has on his vocals. Now, talking about things being a little too loose, like the guitar, the hi-hat is too loose for the verses. If you listen to the real recording, it's a real tight hi-hat. You see it all around you. And the drummer's actually hitting this real elusive and of 3 open hi-hat. He just throws that in every other time. And the hardest thing to do as a drummer during this part is you're not supposed to play any kick drums until the band hits with you. Do, 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 do. All the other parts, no kick drum. Good job by the bass player to not play during this part until his hits come in. A lot of bass players for this song, they just come in, guns a-blazing. You see it all around you. You see it all around you. Like they didn't really ever notice that there's really no bass guitar right there. So it's really great to leave this section a little bit empty so that when it kicks in, it really kicks in. The pre-chorus is missing a really important guitar part, and it follows the vocals, so that's why I really miss it when I'm not hearing it here. So Jeff is doing kind of that Green Day-ish strumming, and when I say that, it's not a knock on Green Day. You know when Billy Joe just kind of just goes all out? It seems like that's how Jeff plays, and I'm wondering if he's used to accompanying himself on an acoustic guitar, because he's kind of doing that solo singer songwriter type thing when he plays electric guitar. So we're missing out on a lot of electric guitar parts that are very crucial in my opinion for this song. So that semi-clean part I'm talking about on the pre-chorus sounds more like this. I'm guesstimating on that part. It's really hard to hear, but it's something like that. It's some sus chords. It sounds really nice behind the other guitar part. We're up to the first chorus. Let's see what they do. So hold on, lose that. Don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're gonna lose control. Baby, it's someone to believe in. Hold on. So for the pre-chorus, the drummer did the right move by going to the ride cymbal, but then he stays there for the chorus. If you listen to the actual recording, the drummers, there's 2 of them in the band, go to the hi-hat. It's really weird because as a drummer myself, if I was just going off memory, I would have stayed on the ride too because it just makes sense, but it really goes to the hi-hat. Now, one of the biggest issues I have with this entire song with this band is that the drummer's playing those electric drums, but he's using real cymbals. And the cymbals are way louder than the electric drums. That's the problem. If you do that, if you mix real with electronic, you have to make sure they're even in sound. So I could use a lot more of the drums in the mix because the crash cymbals are just washing everything out. And here's another crazy part. He's hitting a lot of crashes in this chorus. He hit 16 crashes just during the chorus itself. If you listen to the actual recording, I'm a big nerd, I counted all this today, the actual drummer's only playing 4 crashes. So that's quite a difference, 4 versus 16. There are actually 3 guitar parts going on for the chorus, and since they only have 2 guitar players, they have to really fill up the space. So the lead guitar player is doing a great job playing those cool lead fills. The bassist is doing a great job doing the actual bass line. But Jeff is kind of messing up a little bit by doing the huge Green Day chords during this part. He could either follow the bass player and do the bass line on the guitar, because if you listen close on the real mix, you'll hear that. Just hold on loosely. But that's a lot to ask a singer, to do those real detailed parts while singing. So instead, it'd be great if he just did this. It's not that hard to do power chords and then hit some open strings. It's a little Nickelback sounding. But that mixed with those lead licks and the bass line sounds awesome together. You get this big wall of sound. Now we're on to verse 2, and just like any well-produced song, there are little differences in the second verse versus the first verse. It's kind of hard to say.
So very easy when your feelings are so overprotected. Love her too much. My mind goes back to the girl I met some years ago. Who's on me?
The guy in the back, now that they have a second camera, you can see people dancing. That guy's got some crazy moves, man. I got to learn from him. This is a really tough catch, but there's two things that stand out the most to me. The first thing is the guitar is supposed to change a little bit. And by the way, the lead guitar player caught this. You're supposed to go like this time. It's actually a tough stretch if that's really what they do. That's in the actual song, and the guitar player does it perfectly here. The drummer is missing the kick drum pattern that does change now. That is the second verse, and that's where you hit kicks on the and of 4 and the and of 1.
So damn easy.
It's kind of strange to do, and the bass player, by the way, does not follow it on the second verse, but in the third verse, he will. So I did a quick example of that. Check this out. Might not seem like the biggest deal in the world, but it is building you up throughout the song, so I really recommend throwing that in if you can. And I love the way Jeff emphasized "love her too much." He really goes full Jack Black on this part, and it sounds awesome. All right, let's check out chorus 2. I love how on the second angle I could really see the guitar player's pedal board. I'm excited because, he's a pedal geek like me, and it really does sound good. He's got such a full sound. I love it. And again, I want to emphasize how much I appreciate the bass player playing the correct bass lines, because this song really carries in a cool way when it's played correctly. I had to pause it right before they did the stop into the bridge, because there's a really important thing that they missed. On that stop, you could see the guitar player tapping his pick guard to keep time. The drummer should be doing that, though. He should be, keeping time on the hi-hat, even if it's just a quick foot hi-hat or a silent count or whatever, because you shouldn't have to guess right there. It was almost a train wreck. You could see the lead guitar player kind of like, sweating a little bit, trying to match up on that spot. It ended up working out, but that could have been bad. And then right here, the drummer is supposed to be doing 16th notes on the hi-hat instead of 8th notes. Now, Jeff is missing a really important guitar part that I think sounds awesome, but it's easy to miss if you're just casually listening to it. There are these chromatic walk-ups that have to be there. Then there's a bit of a wait, and then... And what it does is it builds up anticipation, and then it just drops you down for the third verse. It's an interesting dynamic, but it's in there. I know it can be hard when you're the lead singer to also do these detailed moves, like I said earlier, but I think that one's pretty crucial. Check out verse 3. Now, the kick pattern is still doing that weird 4 and 1 and thing that, you're doing on the second verse, except now there's a kick on the and of 3 as well.
You see it all around you.
The bass player is now supposed to be hitting with that. Let's see what happens. Okay, I know what that is now. That little thing in the right corner, I thought it was like some kind of amp or something or monitor. It's a fan. You could see his shirt blowing. I just noticed that now. And then next to that, we have like a spit jar, but it's actually a tip jar. I don't know if it's really a spit jar. I don't know what those look like, but in cartoons, they always spit into them. It's a good idea these days to have a tip jar, by the way, and also have some sort of QR code where people can tip you digitally. Now, it's kind of sad because the bass player is doing the correct moves on verse 3, but because the drummer's not doing that new kick pattern, it doesn't lock in the way it should. So we're missing out on that. The final chorus is kind of funny because it's a double chorus, and on the first one on the recording, it's supposed to be the hi-hat. And then the second one, the drummer on the actual album goes to the ride. And this drummer in Turning Point has been doing the ride the entire time. So as long as he stays there now, he'll be okay. It's like the saying, a broken clock is right 2 times a day or whatever. He's been playing the chorus wrong by going to the ride all the time, but now it ends up being right. Let's take it out. We have the big solo at the end I'm excited for, and a few more details to cover. Now, it might feel like I've been harping on the drummer the entire time. A big part of that is I am just a huge nerd for drums and kick patterns and, details like that. You probably know from my other videos. But this guy's actually holding it down really well. It's not his fault, most likely, that you can't hear his drums. I'm sure he's not in charge of the mixing board or anything like that. So he's playing really well. He's very consistent, even though I want the whole tempo to maybe be a little faster for live, like I said. But he's doing really great fills, especially the one you just heard. He did a great job capturing that vibe. Yeah, I think those dancers have been watching Footloose or something. I'm seeing some moves from that movie. All right, so one thing that's being neglected is this really great riff. It's an easy thing to overlook, but since the bass player is already doing that, it'd be so cool if Jeff could join him, and it would make the rhythm section during the lead that much more professional. All right, so they did end with this riff, but they just did it as a modified ending since the actual recording fades out like a lot of songs did back then. So that was a cool move. I'm glad they added that. I just wish they would start that a little bit earlier during the solo so we could cover the rhythm part. Now, when I contacted Jeff, it's kind of funny because it seemed like one of his big concerns was that I was going to talk about their lack of stage presence. And he wanted to make it clear that, he's like, we're older dudes, and we just hired the lead guitar player. And, I'm not really worried about all that stuff because a band like this, as long as they perform really well, stage presence is important. But, what are you going to do to hold on loosely besides maybe do some synchronized Kiss moves in the background or something? But as far as overall stage presence, I would say what would make the biggest difference is if you move the band around a little bit. So Jeff, if you're the lead singer for most of the songs, by the way, I'm just judging off this one tune, so I don't know, I would move you to the middle because it just makes sense if you're the lead singer to be in the middle of the stage. It's not an ego thing. It's just the crowd, expects that in a way. Back in the day, Black Sabbath had Ozzy way off to the side while Tony Iommi was right in the middle. It was kind of strange, And your lead guitar player is great, but he does look down quite a bit at his guitar. Like he's really focusing and concentrating on what he's playing. And if he's in the middle, that's what most people are going to look at. So I'd move him off to the side. I'd put you in the middle, and then the bass player can stay where he is. And I know when the guitar player gets more comfortable in the band after he's had a few more shows, I know it's just all going to lock in and feel a lot more natural. And then finally, this is a little bit of a divisive topic, but I see that there are some iPads on stands on stage. Now, what I've noticed most when I see bands using iPads is there's a lack of stage presence because they're standing there and they're reading, and they feel kind of like they're tethered to the iPad. So I would highly recommend, once the band gets more comfortable together, to try to use more memorization of the songs and use less of the iPad. That way you're free because it's in your head. You could walk around, you can, just look around. You don't have to be tethered to this device. Some people can pull it off really well, but for the most part, I see a lot of people turning into a robot. What I love about this band is there's so many strong points. First of all, the vocals, Jeff's vocals are just soaring. They're really strong. And, it has that rock edge to it, which I love. The drummer can hold it down. I just wish he was using real drums. You know, whenever I see a rock band playing on stage and I see electronic drums, I get bummed out because I love just the feel of real acoustic drums when it comes to that style of music. The bass player's playing all the right parts. Maybe, I don't know, he could throw on a crazy outfit or wear a crazy hat or something. I don't know. That might add to the stage presence a little bit. Just make your bass player a little bit more wacky. It seems to work for my bands. And then, of course, the lead guitar player can shred. You know, he's a great player and he has a great tone. So once he gets comfortable, like I said, I think everything will fall into place. So I have high hopes for Turning Point, and I'll let everybody know if they decide to follow up and do like a follow-up video. I think that'd be super exciting. Thanks to Jeff and the entire band, and I hope to hear from you soon. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.